Welcome to the Floor Academy podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Hadeen, owner of Illustrious Hardwoods in Mesa, Arizona. Joining me this week is Dirk Sullivan of Hawthorne Tile in Portland, Oregon. One of now two NTCA five-star contractors. He actually helped the other company get their five-star contractor certificate. I don't know what it is, but he helped them out. They changed the program.
I just encouraged. That's all I did.
Okay.
Jeff and Columbia River Tile was well worthy of it.
And so that's a thing. That's a rare thing. Honestly, we need more of them in the industry. If you are a tile organization, look into getting five-star certified. They've just changed it now, and you can do it on the residential or commercial side or both. You don't have to be all inclusive. That being said,
it's not a. I just want to say it's
okay.
not a certification. It's an accreditation.
Yes.
It's accredited stuff. There you go. I just wanted to semantics.
Yes, and it'll help you, man. You can do a lot with it, but that's not why we're here. That's not the reason for today. So Hawthorne Tile's been around for almost 25 years. Dirk has been leading the way, building this company up from himself and a few people. They are now a multi-million-dollar business with multiple employees and crews and people running around making things happen for the Portland area on very, they're not your average tile business. They do some high-end work and some amazing homes, working for GCs that are looking to work with some people that, they might be picky. They might have high standards, but they're also willing to pay for those high standards. So he gets to have some fun with his crews, and they get to design a lot of very cool things. I did a previous episode with Dirk. We talked about creativity, and that was fun. So go check that one out. This week we're going to be talking about scheduling, and it came about. Dirk and I were talking, and he was like, it's hard. Like, something happened after COVID, and I feel like everything is wrong, and it doesn't matter what happens or what's said. Like, everything is moving around and nothing happens the way it's supposed to anymore. And it's not necessarily the vendors at this point, like it was during COVID. It's always change orders or just things are coming up. And so we're going to sit here, we're going to talk through what's going on with the scheduling, see if we can't spitball some ideas on how to make it work a little bit more fluidly and smoother so that he doesn't have to find projects around the warehouse to keep people busy for the day, or, the dreaded, I don't have anything for you today, how about you go home, which I know he doesn't generally do. And he always tries to find something, but that's, it happens, right? You run a big business and you get canceled on. There's not always something to do, especially if they clean the warehouse the day before and the day before that. Like, we can only clean the warehouse so many days. So we're going to dig into that. We'll have Dirk introduce himself in just a minute. Before we get started, Floor Academy is here for you every week, interviewing successful business owners within the tile and flooring trades so that you can implement their wisdom into your business and run your business more successfully so that you have more free time and hopefully more profit. That's what we all want. We didn't get into this to be slaves to our business and be on the machines and on the tools and on our knees. We got into it because we wanted more free time, and we generally find we have way less once we start running the business. So if you're getting serious about wanting to run an actual business as opposed to owning a job, you are in the right place. I would highly encourage you to go to our website, flooracademypod.com, and go check out our business therapy mastermind groups. If you want to take your business to the next level and you want to meet with other dedicated individuals that are doing the same, they are committed to actually working on their business instead of constantly in it, and they're talking about how to be more profitable, how to have more free time, how to let go and hire people and trust them to do the work. This is the place for you to do it. We meet every other week. Everyone gets a chance to vent. That's the therapy session part of it. But you also get insight from other business owners that are doing the work and making their businesses change, which you can take their ideas and implement them into yours. They take yours, they implement them into theirs, and everybody walks away being much more satisfied and with their businesses changing, instead of you saying, man, I should work on, like, you know, having some employee stuff. Like, I should come up with a handbook. And then you get caught up and you're installing tile or a floor and it never happens. And then you remember 6 months down the road that you were going to do that. Like, they're actively doing it because they have accountability partners now. So let's check those out. While you're there, you can go to the shop, and you know, if you want to pick up some Floor Academy swag, it's available in the shop. So what else we got? Thanks to the sponsors. We'll hear some from them a little bit later as I cut into the show at various points. So thank you, Johns Manville Surfaces and IQ Power Tools. But that's enough out of me. Okay, well, let's hear from Dirk. So who are you? What do you do? And why do you do it?
The why. Hey, I'm Dirk Sullivan with Hawthorne Tile in Portland, Oregon, and we're a high-end tile contractor, and I think we're almost 25 years old. Been doing this a long time, and have really worked hard to grow to where we are now. We've done we've looked different in multiple different times throughout the history of the company, but for the one thing that we've really focused on is, you know, quality and quality customer service, and, you know, really connecting with quality people.
You know, people first is, the more I have these conversations, and we were talking before off air about you getting established with some, like, not that you didn't have core values and things that make your culture go round, but you're really starting to work on, like, establishing them and firming them up and making sure everybody's on the exact same page with them. The companies that I see that have core values and they actually make it about people and they put them first will find the success that they're looking for.
Well, the number one factor of employee satisfaction is culture and values. Number one. And if you've got culture and you've got values and you treat everybody with dignity, and people love to come to work. They love to.
And then they tell their friends, right? Everyone's like, why you like your job? Like, why do you go? Okay, well, hey, we have an opening. Why don't you come work with me, right? And so you start finding better people that way too. And this is off topic from where we're going, but along that, by having those things, by having values and a culture, you know, everyone's always complaining about, I can't find anybody good. It's because you're willing to hire anybody. If you had defined values and you had a culture, you would easily be able to tell if those people fit within your values and culture, and you would know not to hire them. Now, if you want to learn about how to hire people and see if they fit in with your culture and values, you can go listen to an episode. It's mock interview, and I sit down and talk with Erin Albrecht, and I tried to fake my way through an interview, and the questions were so hard I ended up having to answer them honestly, and it was really, really, like, stressful to be on the hot seat, and it got uncomfortable for me. So that's a great episode, and you can see me, you know, get a little hot under the collars trying to answer her questions. But scheduling, it has not been fun for you, Dirk. It's been a rough year, and we're getting close to closing it out, but we definitely don't want a repeat of it in 2024. So what's been going on scheduling wise that you are, you know, you're not ripping your hair out, but you might be coming close?
Well, I'm getting whiter and grayer, and for sure. No, it's been interesting. We luckily didn't have a lot of the problems a lot of folks did during the pandemic, and we got lucky because most of our work was being scheduled out 6+ months. So we were on top. We were way on top of it. So we were way on top of stock of everything, way on top of everything. So if there was a problem, we knew about it way in advance. And so we were in a really unique place. We really were. And, you know, supplies that people couldn't get, we already had, because I knew that I bought in bulk and I had everything we needed to do just about anything we needed to do. The problem that I've seen is, especially a larger, we're at this point now with my company where a great deal of our jobs are 2-3 bathroom plus projects, right? So, okay. And we have fewer direct to homeowner jobs and fewer smaller one bathroom jobs with contractors and designers. I mean, we have them, but the bulk of the work is larger. And what ends up happening is that we are lucky enough to have the staffing to be able to, take care of a 5 bathroom job really efficiently. We can do great quality on scale. That's one of the things that we've set ourselves up for success with. And so you allocate a lot of labor to a project that you get your first run of scheduling. It's like, okay, great. This job is scheduled out 6 months. We put it on the calendar and go, great, that job's coming. And then you get about, 30 days from the project, and you circle into the contractor and you say, hey, looks like we're scheduled out a little bit here. And they'll say, oh God, no, we're months behind. It's like, whoa. Were you going to revise that schedule? Were you going to? And I'm glad I asked you now. Yeah. And so this is like not just one or two projects. It's all of them. It's every one of them. Mm-hmm. And it's not just one contractor as an offender. It's most of them. Now, that said, once again, the smaller projects always stay on track. So luckily we do have some smaller projects, and we have some contractors that have been really great at calling saying, oh my God, I just landed this job. How soon could you get to this one? I'm like, yes, tomorrow. Yesterday I could get to it. But I don't even know the right words for it. It's a massively frustrating thing. And it's every month we look at a schedule. Gosh, I mean, I was looking at, we were getting through Q3, and I was going, God, I was looking at fourth quarter, and we looked just stacked and it looked beautiful. I go, Scott, we're going to have a fantastic fourth quarter. Nope, and not really. Nope, it's the same exact thing. Every month it's like and luckily our calendar is dry erase, and so it's just constantly moving things around, and it's just words can't describe how frustrating it is. Mm-hmm. And and then we open our phone lines up, and we get, sure, we'll get 20 leads for projects, but less than 5% of them, I'd say 1 in 20 is a project that we actually could do. And that's a lot of legwork. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of people to talk to. It really is. It's a lot of work.
Well, and so I think we need to put, like, Dirk isn't lying when he says he opens the phone lines. They really don't have the phone open to take on projects, and so they will turn the phone on and they get calls, and then it's the average Joe calling that doesn't really fit their ideal project, right? They've set a standard, and he knows what they want to be able to do. And if someone's calling for, if the average Mrs. Smith is calling for a backsplash, and they expect it to get done, let's say it's the $800 mark or whatever, right? Just whatever the cheap guy on Craigslist is going to throw it in for. Like, that doesn't work for Dirk. There's no money in it. That's not what they're after. It doesn't fit the bill. And so he really does have to, if 5% is the close rate on getting an actual good lead, that's frustrating.
That is when the pipeline is open and just gushing. We spent all this work. We did all this work early on to optimize our presence online and do all this stuff. So I mean, if somebody Googles, tile contractor Portland, Oregon, we're going to be in the top 2 mm-hmm. or 3, and but we're not. Like if you got somebody looking for a car, right? Some people just need a car. All they mm-hmm. need is a car. It's like, they don't want a BMW. They don't want a top of the line automobile. They just need a car. And that's a very different person. And in the tile industry, I think in contracting, sometimes people don't really understand what it is that they actually need or want mm-hmm. until you start talking prices with them. They're like, oh my God, no. Geez, I was thinking more like $300. Like, well, okay. I'm so super sorry. It was nice talking to you. Good luck out there.
Yes.
So, and it's one of the things we've talked about in the years past. I've got 2 really great gals in my office, Jane and Laura, and, about having them kind of like do a lot of legwork up front, and they try to, but the problem is it really needs to be Travis or I talking to the people. because they may miss something. We may, in a conversation with somebody, we may find out quickly. It's like, oh yeah, yeah, you know what, you don't want this, but we can help you with this. You know what I mean? And or they just don't know the ins and outs. So it really has to be somebody with a lot of technical expertise on the phone with the potential customer.
Well, I mean okay, and so now we're getting some more leads in, but it's a lot of legwork to fill a 2-day hole in the schedule after a contractor leaves you high and dry with the scheduling thing.
Yeah, it really is, and we've taken on really cool projects in our shop. We're remodeling our men's restroom and putting in a steam shower and doing a huge mosaic project. But then again, that's not going to happen tomorrow because there's a bunch of planning and we're in the planning stages of that. We've got it gutted, we've got it roughed in, we've done about everything we can possibly do. Now it's a matter of just putting the legwork in to get the work ready to start fabricating the pieces and so anyway, so that's not something that's happening tomorrow. And so really it's just, it is, yeah, it's just been tricky, man. That's all there is to it.
Okay, so one of the things that stands out, right, is you're saying, you reach out 30 days out, and then you're finding out that they're months behind. And while I understand that a good contractor would be reaching out to you and letting you know they do it, I guess after having been in this business a few years, and you've been in it longer than I have, and then just participating in the Facebook groups as we do, we all know that contractors' biggest weakness is communication, or at least for most of them, right? So it's like, what's the system that you have in place for following out? Is it really only at 30 days, or are you reaching out 6 months, 3 months, 1 month?
We're trying to stay right on top of it, and we're trying to keep our fingers on the pulse. We a few months out, couple months out. The issue is that when something goes south, let's say. Drywall, let's say insulation and drywall is scheduled next week. And then over the weekend, the homeowners are walking their project, looking around, and they decide they don't love the lighting plan. So now then they go back to the architect and say, we really want to redesign the lighting plan. We're not happy with it. Okay, so now it goes back to so the contractor will communicate quickly with the architect, and then they'll communicate with the drywall company as well as the insulators and let them know, hey, we're on hold. But they forget down the line, we're at we're towards the end, right? Yeah. We're the home stretch when we're a decorative finish. And so they might space out talking to us, and they can't remake their calendar until the lighting plan gets drawn. And are all the components available, all these things. And then so everything halts, everything comes to a screaming halt. And unless I'm lucky enough to have a phone call about another project with them, I may not find out about that until later down the road. And that's really what ends up happening. And that scenario that I just mentioned is a real scenario. It's one of the scenarios that happen. And that's just one of them. A lot of times the delays really are driven by the homeowner deciding that they all of a sudden want something different. And it could be, it's usually right before drywall, they decide, I want to do this. And now they have to reframe something, or now they have to bring the plumber or the HVAC back out. It's just about every possible scenario that can happen, but most of it is that. And then there's still things happening where, we have a really custom project that's been delayed for 9 months now because it's got, it's a trimless situation where it's all a riglet fry detail that goes in. So the windows and doors all have to be in before they can come in and put the trim in and then put in the drywall. So when windows and doors get delayed or come in wrong, you're held up again. And so it's just I guess the end of I think this is a new paradigm for us, coming to the realization of who we are as a company now and who our customers are. Because the more custom and the more trick the project is, the more laden with problems and not only problems, but the consumer who wants exactly what they want, they're going to spin you on a dime and to make changes. Right?
Yeah.
You and I.
Well, I was going to say, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. No, you.
Okay. No, you go. No, you. Okay. I was going to say, so it sounds like there is a system in place currently to kind of communicate, but it sounds like it could be more effective. And I don't know that it needs to be you or Travis, right? You have a couple of office staff,
Yeah.
a couple of gals. And so what if once you're within 90 days of where it's supposed to start, it was like a weekly phone call or a weekly email to kind of follow up? Because it sounds like what's happening is there's some communication that happens, right? And you're looking, 6 months out, 3 months out, a month out. But at any point in there, the ball could get dropped, things can change, and they're not notifying you right away. Whereas if you were more actively on it,
Yeah.
and so then you're going to get that answer sooner, and because it could change from 1 week to the next. But if you don't follow up for 4 weeks, you could have known 3 weeks ago, right? Because it changed the week after you followed up initially. And
Right.
it's not, I think it would be simple to have them, maybe they could even automate their emails just to send it out like, hey, this goes to such and such contractor, and we know that after this date, we need to email every week. And it could just be a simple automated email that just says, hey, George, checking in on the, Finkelstein project. Are we still on schedule? And she could make 8 of them and set each one to go out every Monday at 8 a.m. And there you go. Right. And so
that's a pretty clean idea. I think weekly, I think monthly is the way to tackle it, because you don't want to inundate them with stuff, but you need to get information as quickly as you can about
yes.
a situation. What I've kind of garnered, I've really changed I'm a fastidious scheduler, and for a fastidious scheduler, this is why it's been such a problem, because I'll put things on the calendar and I'll protect those dates, knowing that I know if that job's on track and I can get my top 4 crews on that project, we are going to kill it. We're going to kill it. It's going to be fantastic. And so I protect those dates. And I've learned now that if somebody calls me and says, hey, how's your schedule for mid-November? I'm going to say, wide open, whatever you want. I'm not going to say no anymore. I'm not going to say no anymore until I have to reevaluate that, right? Because we may get to ourselves into a problem. Maybe I have to reevaluate it. But I think now it's like I stick to my schedules, but at the same time, that I have to understand moving forward that half of those projects that are on our calendar for next month are going to probably move.
There's that. I also think that you're on big enough projects that honestly you can probably just claim, oh, we're running behind, right? If you take on too much work, then you at least have the crews to do it. And I know you don't use subcontractors, and so you're going to keep it all in house. But if you were planning on putting 2 crews there and then scheduling goes fine, sorry, man, I thought I was going to have a crew freed up. We're running behind over here. I could only get 1 over here, and so we'll get it done. But how many times have they done that to you, right? Like
exactly.
I think we got to fib every once in a while.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that's exactly what it is. It's like it's just that if I have to put 1 crew on a job and have it limp along for 2 weeks, at least we're there.
Yes,
and I'd rather be there doing that than be in a situation where we're just running around trying to figure out what we're going to put people on next week.
Yeah, I think it's going to be better to keep everyone busy. At least then, you might have done a project more slowly, but technically you have more revenue because you took on an additional project.
Yep.
So
yeah, there's more. There's definitely more revenue.
And then you have, I think one of the other things that we can look at, right, is when we were discussing this, I brought up the idea, good friend, Bill Parker, he called them his ham sandwiches, right? So he would just keep the board of like, here's this thing where, this lady's not in a hurry. And when I need to fill something in, she's got a backsplash or this powder room that I can knock out in a day or two. So when somebody cancels on me, I call her up. All the materials are stored in my garage. I just go pick them up. I go over there and I can knock her thing out. And so, I know you have to go through a lot of phone calls on the phone to find ideal people. When we were talking previously, it was like, how do we turn that into an advantage for you? And maybe you could take a few more projects to where you're not as profitable, but you could still make a good margin on it by giving someone the leeway to be flexible, right? If they're, And the initial idea was like, if someone was willing to have their backsplash done at a moment's notice, right? They pay you the deposit for the materials and everything's sitting in your warehouse so that it's ready to go. And you can give them, it's part of the stipulation, they're going to get, less than 24 hours notice that you're ready to come and do it. And then if they don't take you up on it, they go to the back of the line, you call the next person. Maybe it's worth a 10% discount because they don't know if it's happening tomorrow or if it's happening in 6 months, but they can't do. One of the things that I've learned is being as a guy is that I was, selling labor only for a very long time before I got into selling materials. And I would get people to agree for me to come in and do a repair, but it was like 3 or 4 weeks out. And then I would call like a week before to verify and they'd be like, oh no, we had somebody else do it.
Yeah.
Well, you told me I was doing it. Like I scheduled the day, it's booked. I don't have anything for that day now. I don't have anything to go do. Like you screwed up my schedule. You stole money from me. Like I'm pissed now. Right. And that's where deposits and stuff like that come in place. But that's why if you control the materials and they're with you, now they can't have somebody else do it.
Yeah. We have a strict 50% down deposit policy for every project. And so once we receive the deposit, we send out the contract, we send out all of our contractors board has a bunch of paperwork that we need to get sent out and get signed from customers, consumer protection notifications, the right to lien notices, all of that goes out at that point in time. And then I order materials. But we can't do any of those things until we have it. And I don't even put it on the calendar. So, but I've learned that lesson. Exactly what you're talking about. That happened to me a couple different times where I told somebody a date and I said, and then I kind of got behind them, and then all of a sudden they went with somebody else. It's like, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
But what Bill Parker calls the ham sandwich jobs. We have Post-it note jobs, and we don't have as many as we used to. We used to have like about 4 feet of them running down, like little yellow, 3x3 Post-it notes with a job name on them and the amount of days it would take. And then once we'd have a hole, it's like, great, click, pull the first one off, put it in there, call the person, say, okay, we're ready to go. And that worked really well. Once again, we've kind of run through that whole program. That's part of the problem. You burn through those jobs pretty quickly once you have as many scheduling mishaps as we have this year. But like I said, I feel like the answer to my problems is you can't answer to tomorrow's problems today. You've got to answer them now for the future. And the truth is just never saying you can't. You're never saying you're booked, or that you can always find a way to make something happen. And now, as unpredictable as all these projects are, that's kind of the way to go.
Well, not only that, I think it's what I've learned is that money doesn't solve problems, but it sure is, money doesn't buy happiness, right? But it sure as hell makes it easier to achieve it. And so when you can solve your problems easily by just throwing money at them, it's not so bad. And if you got a little bit of money to throw around, you can hire a crew, you can hire some employees, you can pay the fines for not getting to a project on time and pissing that contract. Like you got some options. And I think that's that's the position you're in, is that you kind of know that you can buy your way out of anything at this point. And it's just a matter of putting that thought together and saying, I'm okay with that, instead of having to, I know where you're at because I love setting my schedules. And if I tell a client that I'm going to start Tuesday the 15th, I'm there Tuesday the 15th at 7 a.m. And if I say it's 5 days, it's 5 days. It doesn't matter that I just ripped up a bunch of carpet and I found out that they need, a bunch of self-level and that sets me back a day. I told them 5 days. And the problem is that I scheduled the next project to start exactly when that one ends. I don't have the extra day. So now I'm going to put in 16-hour days and I'm going to make it up, and I have to hold to the schedule. Like I did it to myself. And so maybe there's a lesson in learning that, yes, you can hold yourself to that schedule, but we also need to be able to have the flexibility to say, let me bring in the jobs and let me get to the point where it's not okay. and I did screw up, and I have 6 jobs and I have 5 crews, and now what do I do? And
Well,
how do I solve that today?
well, and also here's an interesting thing. So I know I can tell you right now, at least from my own problems. I mean, luckily we've got, I've got 7 crews, and that's a great thing because
Mm-hmm.
we can diversify, we can team up, we can spread apart, we're very mobile and everybody's very capable. But I'm thinking back to last year, the year before, where I knew I was overbooked. We had way too much. And I remember the stress I was feeling. I was just like really stressed out about stuff, all the jobs, the log jamming coming together. And then miraculously, 2 of them would get pushed back. And it would be like, oh, great. I think that's the reality I've got to come to terms with is that being overbooked is going to be okay. It's always going to work out. It always is. Something's going to move. It's just such a fluid thing, it's really fluid. And um, it's there's always motion to schedules. And as rigid as I want them to be, there's always the part that is just it's going to work out.
Yes. And
Now,
it does. And I think, but that's such a big, it's such a hard lesson to learn in that
yeah,
you have to, you wouldn't have gotten to having a company of 20 employees if you didn't learn how to let go. And because you're so into the scheduling, I think that's one of the reasons why you're struggling. Like, this is like one of those last things where you have to be like, okay, I surrender. Like, I am not a slave to the schedule. I control the schedule. It's
yeah,
okay for it to be messed up. It's a hard thing to do because really it's I always found that me having a schedule and hitting it, like, clients were always very impressed. They're like, wow, like, you did what you said you were going to do when you said you were going to do it. And
yeah.
it's so pathetic that the bar
It is
is that
pathetic.
low in
Yeah.
contracting, but like like people that do that consistently, like, we pride ourselves on our companies being able to do that. And honestly, all of these other companies are in business. People absolutely love them, rave about them, and they drop the ball on it. And we're over
Mhm.
here like, nope, I built my name on this. This is the only way to do it. I have to. It doesn't matter. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. Like, you can screw up every once in a while, and it's okay. Like, you can be a crew short, and you can call and say, look, something came up. We can't get there. I'm really sorry. And maybe you know a week ahead of time. Maybe you know the day before.
Yeah.
People are forgiving, and if they're not, again, hopefully you're running your company correctly enough and you got some money. You can be like, look, I can either refund you the money, I can give you a slight discount. Maybe they don't say anything, right? You don't have to offer anything. You just say, look, I'm sorry, we screwed up. I don't have a crew. I can get one there in 2 days. And they might say, you know what? That's fine.
You know what?
Cool.
People love being communicated with, and
Yes.
especially, they really do. If you're honest and you communicate, that's the most important thing is communicating, because this is not a tile business; it's a people business. It is, and actually, any business you're in is a people business. If you're selling whatever you're creating, whatever you're doing, it's for people, and the people are the number one part of it. So people like to be communicated with. They like when you're honest. They like when you're humble.
Mm-hmm.
They really do. And authentic, and an authentic person coming to them with a problem. It's like, listen, hey, hopefully I'm giving you enough time, but I'm realizing we're behind, and we're not going to be able to get there. Is there any way you can jump? Get your finished carpenters ahead of us, and then we can work together. Or I can get a story pole made, and we can get over there. At least give you what you need, so you can start to put
Mm-hmm.
together your portion of it. Is there, and it's just collaborative. It's being creative too.
Yes.
Uh,
I think that communication key and being, like you said, being honest and open, right? Like, you can disarm a lot of situations very quickly by just going in and being honest and being like, hey, look, I know I screwed up like really, really bad right now, but that doesn't fix it. So what can we do to remedy this situation? And by you going in, admitting the fault, they can't attack you on it.
no,
And you've already said, okay, look, I'm here to collaborate with you to fix this. And so the conversation is probably going to go much more smooth, instead of what I generally see people do is what story can I tell them that's going to sound really good to make this situation go away? Like,
Everybody's got COVID.
why do we need to lie? Why do we need to come up
I
with a
know.
story? Why do we need to create something? Because then you have to remember it, and then you got to keep it going. And look, I screwed up. We've
Yeah.
all done it. We've
Yeah.
all screwed up. Just admit
Yeah,
it.
and you can't tell bullshit stories because you're going to actually have that situation someday, and you're going to need to use that. That you're going to need to cry wolf essentially.
Yes, exactly. All right, I'm going to interrupt this real quick, and we
Yep.
will be back after a message from John's Manville. Zero entry, curbless, ADA compliant. All these words describe a shower pan style that's both luxurious and accessible for every person. GoBoard Point Drain was designed with this in mind. The low-profile features and adjustable riser perfectly enable zero-entry installations. Whether you install mud pans or use GoBoard wedges, the integrated membrane keeps water secure. Oh my goodness, I haven't done this in like 2 weeks. The integrated membrane keeps water securely flowing in the right direction, down the drain. Visit www.jm.com/GoBoard to discover the possibilities. And don't forget, they got a million and one sealants that they accept. You don't have to use the GoBoard sealant, although you can. You can you got options with them, and that is part of the beauty of their system. So if you can't find one, there's a list of like 20 others to go use and keep the warranty. All right, so Dirk, honesty is going to go a long way, and I think, along these lines, like what is it going to take to get the GCs to communicate with you? Honestly, I think that's part of this, is that it's industry standard almost that the finished trades get shit on. We're last. We're expected to make up time deficits. We're expected to just get it done on the original schedule, whether or not we have our 6 weeks or whatever we were promised. And it's down to 2, and they're like, well, you got 2 weeks. No, you told me I had 6. No, you have 2. No, I have 6. What does it need to look like for us to do? Or what do you think you can do to go to the GCs you work with and be like, hey, I'm struggling. And I love our partnership, but it's not working out this year, and I need next year to go a lot smoother. How can we improve our communication so I know what's going on with your projects? I mean, and I don't think we'd be having this conversation if that had happened yet. So I guess I'll ask, has it happened? And if not, how receptive do you think they would even be to you saying like, hey man, I need 30 minutes. Like we gotta sit down and chat.
Yeah, and I've had these conversations
Okay.
with them. I have. One, you have, when you work for GCs, you get there's numerous different types of leadership and management you have to navigate, right? Everybody's got a different style. Some of them are really loosey goosey. Some of them are more like right on it. And then there's all in between. And so everybody's been receptive because they feel it too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they feel it too because their customers are feeling it. And at the end, they're even though a customer may be the reason there was a delay, they quickly forget that they were the problem. They do. It's like, we're moving in, and our moving date's here. Why aren't you done? It's like, well, you got to kind of, So once again, luckily,
Yeah.
I don't have to have those communication. I don't have to have that communication with the customer specifically in most of those cases. But all of the GCs have been receptive about it, and some of them like do a really great job of scheduling, and I realize that they can't always create a brand new schedule until they've solved all their problems.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I just ask for to be in the loop more often, and how often should I be communicating with them? That's the question I ask. It's like, hey, listen, what is an appropriate amount of time? How often should I be communicating with you? How often should I reach out about this when I'm, or should I assume if now that we've talked that if I've got you on the schedule for, November 27th start date and I haven't heard from you, that's good news. Because in my mind, it's usually not good news.
Yeah.
It requires, we have to circle back. So everybody's receptive and everybody wants to do better. Everybody's frustrated. And this is what I found out is everybody's frustrated. And, everybody wants it to go smoother. It would be a lot more profitable if it did. Because I know that they're getting, we're not the only ones that are having, because of scope creep or design changes and change orders, we're not the only ones affected by it. Their schedules are affected too. And so I think it's a systemic problem right now, and I don't quite understand it. I'd love to hear from other folks, to hear what they're dealing with out there. I get the feeling that most people are feeling this in every market and at every price level of job. I think it is still an issue.
Well, I think, look, if you're hearing this and you are struggling with this is exactly what the Floor Academy Facebook group is made for. So go in there. Dirk's a member in the group. You can tag him, put the little, ampersand symbol, or the @ symbol, and put his name in, and then be like, hey, man, I'm struggling with this. Let's get a conversation going and see what everybody else has going on and how you're solving it. That's the beauty of this, is that we have 20 years ago, you all had access to people, but not on the level you do now. If you were an NTCA member or you were part of the NWFA, a guy that was part of CFI, whatever it was, you had connections with people, but they weren't as immediate as they are now, right? You'd have to wait for a convention, or you could call people up one by one, and we're spoiled at this point that we can get on a platform and communicate with 20 plus people at once, all spitball ideas, and everyone's coming from not only a different way they run their business, but a different geographical location, and you can start really diving into details to figure out what's making them successful where they're at and pull out things that'll help you where you're at. And so,
right. Well, it's interesting. I think that social media really started this unique thing for people. It started with the John Bridge Forum, and then Tile Geeks, and then all the social media pages kind of allowed people to communicate with other installers in other areas and showcase their work, help solve problems, get answers to real problems from either experts or from manufacturer reps and things like that. It really just opened our world up. And then the thing for me that really was a huge change is, I'd been an NTCA member for years, but it wasn't until 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago, that I started actually getting involved. I got involved. I went to Total Solutions Plus, and then was really blown away by sitting in on NTCA committee meetings and being able to communicate and being able to realizing that I had a voice at the table. It was really, really, really cool, and it put me. I became friends with some of the most incredibly influential, amazing business owners in our industry, and they became friends, and I was able to have access to people that I never had before. I didn't know I had, right?
Yes.
But you've got to take that first step in getting involved. It really is the most important thing you can do. It's one thing to go to coverings and then sit in on things, but it's to network, meet people, talk. And the one thing that was interesting too is the social media pages were really good for the installers and getting installers information, but not as good for business owners, right? You weren't able to get real good business questions answered. It just kind of was a wild, wild west out there when you're talking to a bunch of folks, and no offense to anybody, but it wasn't until I started really getting involved and then, talking to people like you, Kyle, you really serve a very, very, very important need in our
thank you.
In our tile community, and you're doing a great job of it too. I mean, you really are. It's quite amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And that's what I realized, right? Is there's a lot of groups and there's a lot of installers, but they were all asking the same question over and over again. And it was, how much do I charge for this?
And then that becomes the blind leading the blind at that point,
well,
right? So it's
it
just like,
is because everyone had an answer, right? Everyone was doing their own thing, but no one was talking about how do you actually figure out what you have to charge. And
how do you assess your value and how much? Yeah, exactly. What is your overhead? What are your expenses? What are all these things? And how much?
yes,
You know,
yes.
what is markup? What is margin? What is the difference between those two things?
Hmm.
I mean, if you mark something up 20%, you can't give a 20% discount to get the same price, right? So it's all these things, understanding it, all of it.
And it starts off so simple, right? Because it really does. I think the easiest way to get someone interested in learning how to run a business is that you got to give them the easy win, right? And the first thing that most contractors want is, well, how do I charge more? Okay, I can make you more money, right? I can get you that easy win. We can probably increase your rates 10% no matter where you're from. But then it's like, okay, look, you did that. That was easy. Now let's go do the hard stuff. And the hard stuff is, again, going back to where you were at. And it's really the fundamentals that we should start at, and having core values and a mission statement and a vision statement, and, developing an employee handbook and a hiring process, and how do we properly schedule things, and what's the, standard procedures for this task and that, like all of that stuff is what isn't being talked about. And then they're like, well, how do I get more profitable? I can only have you charge more for so long before you actually have to go and like show people something tangible. And I think that's interesting enough. Like there's been some pushback on just the, if you want to call us influencers, go ahead. The influencers that are in this space within the industry right now is that it's like, well, we just need to make more money. And it's like, no, at least on this show, like I'm very much about like, it's not about you making more money. That's one thing of it, but your life needs to be easier. And there needs to be an actual business. We need to go have these much more difficult conversations. It's not just about money. And you can't do what Dirk does in this industry without having the other aspects of your business. You can't just go charge the highest rates possible and not know how to manage a schedule and treat employees and have the proper tools to do it, and then set expectations with some of the pickiest people on the planet and keep them in control. There's a lot of other skills that need to be learned in running a business, and those aren't being discussed. And when you try and discuss them, it quickly gets shut down in a lot of the groups. And that's why I like having Floor Academy's there, and that group exists to go have that conversation. And the people there are, if they're not interested in having that conversation, they will quickly find themselves being booted out, because we're not going to turn it into something that it's not supposed to be. Like if you're not invested in actually doing the work and trying to run a business, then it's not the place for you. I'm sorry. Like you can get a lot of great advice, but if you want to sit there and start saying that, oh, woe is me, it matters where I live and I can only do this, like, no. We're not handing out free rides and cupcakes over there. Like it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. You're going to want to cry, and that's okay. 'Cause it's going to, like, the end result will be worth it. And I think that's where you're at kind of in this situation. This is hard. Like you've had it, not that it's been easy, but it seemed easy. And now you're really starting to try and put something together and you're trying to structure something that's like the most impossible thing to structure in a business, especially when you're running 7 crews. And like, how do we get everybody on board? And maybe that's the trick right now, is just having open communication with the GCs or the leads on the project, right? If you're not talking with them, like the GC directly, of how do we develop something that keeps us all abreast of the situation so that we can all succeed as best as possible, because this current situation is not working and we're all just, we're all taking a hit, and it's not doing us any favors. So what is it? It's not a Hawthorne Tile problem. It's whoever's on the Smith House project problem, right? From the plumber to the electrician to the framers, you're all dealing with it, right? And so how do we is it a question of developing a team mentality amongst them instead of I'm responsible for my scope at my time? Do you think that may be part of the problem? Like it's not like Hawthorne Tile's a team of 20 people, right? You have to get everybody on that same page. And so is it the GC's responsibility to change how they run their businesses at this point to better communicate with the teams they've built?
Yeah, I think that, I think that it is. I mean, everybody can do better. And I think that, we can all do better. We can all continue to learn. And like I said, once again, this isn't just isn't just a problem I'm having.
Mm-hmm.
It's a problem that everybody's having. And, I think that, and hopefully everybody, the communication that's happening and what's going down, I think everybody's learning from it and figuring out how to better themselves, how to build a better schedule, how to build better communication, how to streamline things. So when these things don't happen, how to structure a contract. So it makes change orders a little bit more challenging for the customer to have, people to make changes. It's like, I mean, I know that everybody's got a little different way to handle it. The change order is a whole nother subject, right? It's an interesting subject that has to be handled perfectly, and it needs to cost more, right? You can't change order can't be done for the same rate. It changes everything. It sets everything down. It slows everything down. The job has to stop in most cases. So, I don't know.
Well, I think that's a great point, right? Because that's a lot of what you're talking about is causing this situation is that the homeowners are going through, they're deciding they want to change their custom dream home, which, look, you're entitled to. This is your dream home. You do what you got to do. But there's a price. And I don't know that, I know commercially that the contractors can be held responsible and have to pay penalties, and I'm pretty sure it happens on the residential side too, on new build stuff, of like, you're gonna be given this segment, you need to hit your date. If you don't hit your date, you start paying fines essentially per day of not meeting it. But there isn't ever like a bonus if I get done early, and there isn't a fine for the homeowner when they delay my schedule. And I think that's what we need to talk about, right? Is how do we start holding the homeowners accountable, not just for like, okay, look, you want to change this. Well, there's a fee because I have to go and redo my work, and right, I'm going to charge you, and then I'm going to charge you a little bit on top of that because that's the pain in the ass tax of the change order. But how do we actually stop them from wanting to do it and saying like, look, it's going to be an extra $2,000 plus whatever I want to charge you because you've delayed me 4 days so that I can get in, or whatever it needs to be, right? Like you're going to mess up the whole schedule, and you're going to push 8 contractors back, but their crews were scheduled to be here. And so every crew needs to be paid out X amount of rate. It add up to tens of thousands of dollars real quick. They'd be like, whoa, okay, hold on. Like, I don't want to do that. So why is it Hawthorne Tile's responsibility to pick up the slack when it's the homeowner creating the issue?
Well, and the interesting thing is like, it's not really slack that we ever have to pick up. When a schedule is, a schedule is extended, it just extends, and the amount of days that I've got to do the work, that doesn't change. It's still going to take 2 crews 30 days to complete this project, or whatever it is. That's still going to happen. So that does. The part that we have to pick up is figuring out what to do with our people that can't go to that job that we had scheduled for 2 weeks from now. So, and some interesting things came up in our mastermind group like a month ago or so. Somebody had mentioned we're talking about different things we can do, and is looking to like Habitat for Humanity and finding pet projects that we can become a part of, right? So give back to the community. Where can we give back? So if we're we need to fill a week for a crew, is there somewhere we can put our guys, we can donate some time somewhere, really something really productive, and also something that can, put a feather in our cap as well too. And we've actually been looking into that. We've looked into it. Laura, and my office manager Laura sent me a few different links to things that we are going to be looking into for that.
Well, and I think that's one idea, and it's a good idea. Like, I'm all about giving back to the community. I think it's really big for small businesses to be locally involved. It's great for word of mouth and recognition, but also, again, it's about putting people first. And if you want your community to support your business, then you better go support them. But again, it's why do you have to pay people because the homeowner decided to delay your thing, right? It's now costing, and you're doing a good thing, but it's costing you money to pay your people to go do it. So you're still out a project and out profit. And
absolutely,
where's the, like, I know we're not going to be able to go to GCs and start demanding that homeowners have to pay exorbitant fees for delays and pay my crew out because they delayed us 2 weeks and I need $2,000 or more per day per crew so that I can afford to pay my people and I still hit my revenue goals and da-da-da. Like, I get that that's not going to happen, but there's got to be a way of holding homeowners accountable to really, like, if they're really screwing up that many schedules and they're delaying projects by months because of the way things are happening. Like, I get, it's one thing when it's the manufacturer can't get you product, or the custom order was improperly made, right? The big $10,000 door, the company screwed up and the guy built it wrong. Like, mistakes happen. I get that. But when it's, Sam and Susie walking through the house and, like you said, right? Oh, I don't like the lighting plan anymore. Let's change it. And it delays everything 2 weeks. That's a problem. Yeah. And I think there needs to be, we need to be able to go and somehow hold them accountable. And I guess slack isn't the right word when I said pick up the slack, but, like, essentially you are, right? They're creating a mess in your schedule, and it's now your responsibility to hustle up a bunch of work. And I guess it is your responsibility. It's your company, but they had said, this is our schedule. This is what we're doing. And then they decided to change it. So I think there needs to be more consequences on that side. And, like, how do we manage that? Like, what can we do? Right.
I think that the issue really, that's the GC's problem to solve, I think that, and I think some GCs do it better than others. As far as we're never going to get paid. Mm-hmm. We're never going to get paid for it. We're never going to, there's certain things that we can put in our contracts that, or into our estimates based around, X, Y, and Z, but that's one that's never going to fly. Delays. It's just you're never going to get anybody to sign that contract. It'll never happen.
Correct. I know. It's wishful thinking.
And so the flexibility needs to be within us and how we plan our schedules and really like I said, I think the goal I've got is just we already know things are going to get lean anyway through this next year. They're going to lean up. It's just what it is. I'm lucky to be fairly insulated to some degree from that because the builders and the clientele we are working for don't have the same financial needs as a middle class person like myself. I'd be a good example of projects that I might decide to do this year if I needed to do a home equity loan or something along those lines. I may decide not to do that this year because I don't want to pay that interest rate.
Yes.
I you know what I'm saying? Or I may decide to do something different with my money right this minute. And that's because, but luckily I don't work for me and I don't work for myself and my friends and it's a different clientele. That said, I am seeing more job cancellations. I'm seeing some of my GCs have, like one GC in particular had two really wonderful projects that were going to be his next 9 months. Both of them 2 days apart went away.
Rough.
Yeah. One client decided that they were, going to put it on hold for a year, all out of the blue.
Mm-hmm.
They spent all the money on design, all the money on everything, and then wouldn't sign the final contract with the contractor, and that job fell away. Another project for that same exact contractor, poor dude, a monstrous condo renovation. It was an incredible design, an absolutely outstanding design, and he decided that I'm just going to sell the condo. Just out of the blue. I'm not going to do the job. I'm going to sell the condo
Oh,
instead. So once again, we're seeing these things happen, and in talking to a lot of people, you and I talked about this, but kind of you know, my biggest indicator of what's happening is my good friend who owns a deconstruction company. He has
mm-hmm.
80 employees, and he told me as of last Monday they were only at 50% of the work that they needed. And so they were going to be, rather than laying people off, Oregon has an interesting part of unemployment, which is their work share program, which is if you can give your employees, if you can split up the hours, 20 hours per person, and then the unemployment will cover the additional payroll.
Okay.
And so that was crazy. It's like, man, he's usually like, so that just tells me that 50% of the jobs that were going to happen aren't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so we kind of got to be looking out for that too, so I'm not totally insulated, right?
Yes.
So I think, we're ready to say yes to anything right now. Anybody who's willing and wants what it is we are able to do, mm-hmm. I'm not going to be as protective over my calendar as I was, because I know it's such a liquid, fluid thing. It's coming, it's going, it's coming, it's going. Not very few of my projects, so once we sign a contract, and I know it's there, and we've got a deposit, and it goes on the calendar, I know we're doing those jobs. They aren't going away. I just know that they're going to move down the line, and so mm-hmm. it's just we need to have two backups all the time.
I think that's a great way to look at it, right? Is you open up the phone lines, like you said, you deal with some of the nonsense calls that come in, you find some of the projects that you can build up your sticky note file again.
Yeah.
And you get that list going. You get a couple of extra projects on there that if you got to split crews and be a little delayed, not get it done as fast as you said you would, you got that option. And then you also know that there's just going to be less work available. And folks, if you're insulated like Dirk or Ken Ballin or Trask Bergerson and some of these guys that are around, and you see in the groups, like they're working in second, third, fourth home communities. They're very fortunate. I get it. I see a lot of people that have been begging for work since last December, right? And then it went. Yeah. I immediately noticed in a lot of the local smaller groups that it went from people offering jobs to people begging for work. It's continued, and so there is less work out there, and a lot of it has to do with I don't know if it was in an episode it was explained or if it was off the air. I had a conversation, but essentially it was explained to me that by COVID turning on the printing machine for our dollar bills, we pulled like 2 years worth of work forward in time. And so all this stuff that would have been done over this year and next year, we've pulled forward. It doesn't exist anymore. It was really, really good. It was too good. But the whole time on this show, we were having conversations about you need to build up your war chest. You need to save. And what I saw a lot of folks doing was you were buying four-wheelers and snowmobiles and boats and going on vacations. And now you're sitting here hurting and saying, I don't have any work, I need to work, and you're willing to go do it for pennies on the dollar. Whereas we had the longest run in forever of like positive economy. It was like a decade long. And you're broke? How'd that happen? And this is why this show is so important. Like if you're not putting this stuff into place, the information is available. Like there is no excuse other than you. And I'm sorry this hurts. Like it hurts to make changes and go about life in a different way. That's called growth.
Yeah.
We all need to grow, and we all need to hear hard things. And I've been dealing with plenty of them. Luckily, I made some good financial decisions, and it hasn't been a struggle for me. But we all had the opportunities. We all made the decisions we made, and now we need to, we got to sleep in that bed. But you still have choices. There's still work out there, and you can find it, and you can find it at a profitable rate, and you can start making those changes now and trying to make up for what's to come. Because I don't think it's going to be pretty. I don't think the entire economy is going to collapse. It's not going to be like 2008, no. But it's going to be slow, right? There's definitely going to be work. There's just less of it, and you're going to have to fight for it.
Yeah, there's multiple factors that are against us right now, and including 2 wars and a possible third, and then which is we're in a real wild place right now, guys. And
yes.
And not only that, interest rates and also a lot of people forget interest rates. It's like, though we did have this massive inflation, low interest rates really bolstered the housing prices. I mean, everybody's houses went, in value, which is an unfortunate thing once interest rates go up, right? But my first loan was 10.25%. And then I refinanced for a 7.75, thinking it was a hell of a deal. and then after when 9/11 hit, we refinanced again at 4.75, thinking I would never see money this cheap again, ever. And we refinanced to a 10-year loan, paid off our house in 9, and got through it. And then meanwhile, money being artificially low for way too long, way too long. It actually did more damage than it did good, in my opinion. But that said, I think anybody right now who's struggling and struggling to find work needs to really figure out how to market yourself. You got to change your strategy. You got to change your marketing. You have to be a real people person, man. Because I think the people who are the most genuine people persons are people are going to be able to connect. And if you can connect, you can sell.
And I think there's that. And it's not about dollars, folks. Like, price is one thing, but it's not the thing. Stop worrying about price. You can make money. It's okay. Profit. Look, you got to go buy the hoodie. Okay. Go to the shop, buy the hoodie. It'll make you feel good. It says profit is not a dirty word on it. And it's not. It's okay for you to make money. It's okay for you to sit here and say, everything's gone up. So did my prices. And when people don't want to pay them, well, they weren't right for me. All right. And if they want to get somebody to do it cheaper, that person's going to have to cut corners. You know what it takes to do a good job.
Yeah.
And they're not getting what you were offering, right? So now you have to find out how to market to the people that really want your services. And you can also work on re-educating the market you're presenting to so that they raise their concept and idea of what's actually required to do this.
Right. No, it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. But you have to change you actually have to change your marketing tactic. You actually have to have a marketing tactic. You have to figure it out. And like I said, I can't stress it enough. It's about people, and you've got to be able to connect. If you can naturally connect with people, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. You just have to figure it out. You just have to figure out how to get out there and put yourself out there and meet as many people as possible. I do an exercise every year where I contact 3 of my favorite subcontractors, and I reach out to them and ask, who are you working for that I'm not working for? And we'll talk about it. Oh, do you work for this guy, this, and then I'll get 1 or 2 contractors that I've never met before, and I'll send them an email, or I'll call. A lot of times I'll call or I'll send an email introducing myself and just saying, hey, I'd love you to have you over at my shop. Love to have coffee. Let's just talk about our businesses. You may already have a great relationship and with your tile people, and that's awesome. I don't want to get in the way of that. I just want to know you. I want to know you. I want to show you what we do. Let's talk business, and it works. You don't get all of them, but you make new friends.
Yep.
And you can, and once you've made new friends, they know who you are. And if their great relationship they have can't take care of a project they need, they know you're available.
That's exactly it.
But you have to get out there. You have to. Like I said, I do it religiously every year, and
yeah, it's about. Go ahead.
I was going to say it's paid off in dividends. Like the best one ever was a new contractor we took on right as the pandemic hit. I mean, literally, the pandemic hit. I had two projects, two very large projects that were open that we were able to get on. One was a big farm home on a winery, and the other one was a wide open condominium that had two bathrooms. So I could get I had 4 crews able to work. Now I had to figure out what to do with the other 3 crews, and this company came in and they had 3 jobs ready to go. I mean, literally back to back to back to back. And so it was magic, and it never would have happened had I not put myself out there. I talked to Trask about this too, and he's really good at that. Yes. You just got to you got to talk to everybody. You got to, I think Trask told me the story about getting to know the guy who drove the porta potty truck.
Yes.
And which is a great story, but it's like you want to know where the jobs are. Where are you dropping those porta potties off at? Because I need to know where that is and who's doing that job and who's that contractor. And that's what separates. That's what separates successful contractors from unsuccessful ones. And I really think it's true. You've got to put yourself out there.
Well, I think it's knowing that you're a business owner, right? No one's going to market your business the way you market your business. And no one's going to talk about it the way you're going to talk about it. And so if you're not out talking to everybody about it, and it's not a sales pitch every time. Like you said, you're calling out these contractors and you're just genuinely interested in knowing them, right? And then it's building that relationship, keeping it alive, staying in touch with them, and just being like, "Hey, man, how's it going? Like, how's business going for you?" Right? I'm interested in you genuinely. This isn't a call. This isn't a ploy to get work, right? But then they like you. You've had great conversations, and Fred lets him down. Well, Fred got screwed up on the schedule. God, I love Fred, but it happens. Dirk does tile. I'll call Dirk, right? And now you've got your chance. And so you might go and knock it out. And he's like, you know what? That's like the 3rd time in a row Fred's done that to me. I'm done with them. I'm just going to give everything to Dirk from now on. And it comes out of nowhere. But if you don't go and spend the time to cultivate more opportunities, you're not going to do it. Sitting at home on your couch bitching about how you don't have any work isn't going to make your phone ring. It doesn't happen.
It is not. And once again, one of my favorite sayings, and it's true in everything, is luck favors the prepared, right? And that phone's not going to ring, but the difference a day makes by putting the effort in, the phone will ring. I haven't done it since COVID, but that's not true. I did a presentation for I'm spacing out the acronym for the Interior Design Society with our Schluter architectural rep at Ann Sachs. But you want to get in front of as many interior designers as you can. Join every group. Like in the Pacific Northwest, we've got the NKBA and the NSID. But any interior designer group in your area, you need to be a member of. You have to be. And every month they hold meetings on Thursdays, and you need to go to those meetings, drink the free beer, have the free food, talk to people, meet people.
Yep.
You make sure everybody knows who you are. If they don't know who you are, they can't call you.
Look, hold your own meetings. It doesn't have to be with designers, right? Like I just wanted local contractors in my area to get together, and I was trying to put together monthly meetups, and I wasn't getting the turnout I wanted, and I've since stopped. But it was like I had 5 or 6 of the same people showing up every month, and it was fun. We sat down, we talked business for like 2 hours, and it was great. Like I know a couple of really good contractors in my area now, and if I can't handle a project, I'm calling them and saying, "Hey, call this person," right? They're going to take great care of you. Or they're calling me and they're saying, "Hey, I this isn't your part of town, right? I don't want to deal with it. Why don't you go take care of them?" And so, not only can you meet people within your field, but like I don't care if a general contractor wants to come to the meetup, like they can come to the meetup. Let's invite people. Let's get to know them. And so, design groups, hold your own meetings. Find a way to talk to people.
The other good one is NARI, or NARI, NARI. Which is a national, I couldn't remember it. I had to look it up again. National Association of the Remodeling Industry. It's an excellent resource, getting in front of other remodeling contractors or the National Home Builders Association. Get involved. anywhere you can. I know we kind of went off course here,
Yeah.
but also this is also answering a lot of questions as to what to do about your schedule. You can't rely on the work that's coming in. You can't, and also like that's why I'm always trying to meet new contractors, because it's it you know you're I'm 20 almost 25 years in business. Some of my contractors are going to age out. I'm going to have some retiring, right? But we always have to be bringing in new business, and especially in times where we know it's going to be lean, as many contacts as you could possibly have and as many friends in the business as you could possibly have is really, really, really important.
For sure. I mean, you want to talk about, this does go along with scheduling issues, right? Because we're talking about how to acquire new schedules. The problem with a contracting business is that we're not forming repeatable income, right? Like I don't get to on the contracting side, I don't get to open up my account on the first every month and go into Stripe or Square or whatever and be like bill clients and automatically there's $10,000 of recurring revenue or $100,000 of recurring revenue. That doesn't happen. Okay.
We're not subscription based.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, there are business models that are, and it's a beautiful thing to be able to know that you're guaranteed X amount of income a month. We're not that. And so the trap is, especially for smaller owner operators like myself, and I'm sure you worked through this, was like, you start growing and you get 10 or 12 weeks out and you're flustered, you're trying to maintain the schedule and you can't keep up with everything because you haven't learned how to manage it. And you get so busy maintaining that 10 or 12 week schedule, you forget to go to bids and advertise and get the phone to ring.
Yeah.
And then you made money. Great. Except now you just spent it all because you just spent the next 2 weeks after that 10 or 12 weeks of being booked out doing nothing except trying to generate leads to get the phone to ring again so you can land another project. And now any savings you had was spent supporting yourself. And the cycle continues over and over and over again. Once you start, you can't let off. And so the more groups you can get involved in, and I get it, it's been a 10-hour day, you're wiped, you don't want to go to the meeting and talk with those designers again, they're pretentious, you hate them, they're the one feeding you. You better go to the meeting. And maybe they're not. Man. I'm sorry, designers. I don't really mean that. I'm just
but interestingly enough, that may be what some folks are thinking. Why they wouldn't want to be part of that. I can't relate to those. I can't relate to that. I can't relate to that. Well, the bummer is you have to. That's the bummer. You have to.
This is another part. Like the older I get, the more I try and realize how simple we are. Look, we're all humans. We eat, we sleep, we shit, we breathe. Like you have something in common with someone. You may not like the sports team they like. You may not like their political view. You may not like 99.9999% of things they do. I guarantee you there's one thing that you can find you enjoy about them. Go talk to them about that because you don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah. You got to be relatable. I watched a good friend of mine who had one career, and long story. I'm trying to make this as short a story as possible. He had one career. He moved out to the coast. In order to sell his house, he decided there was so much equity, he didn't want to have to spend it on a real estate agent. So he actually got his real estate license with downtime in order to sell his house. That's what he did.
Okay.
Because he bought the house on a short sale and there was tons of profit in it, and he wanted to maintain it all. So he ended up getting his real estate license. He did sell his house. He moved out to the coast, networked with somebody who said, "Wait, why don't you come to work for my firm selling a house on the coast?" And he's like, "Shit, I didn't think I was going to do that, but yeah." He killed it, and he's still killing it because he's incredibly relatable. He can talk to anybody about anything. He's lucky to have the gift of gab, and he's lucky to know enough about enough things that he can relate to anybody. And it, once again, real estate, whether you're a tile installer, whatever you're doing, it's about people, right? If you can be relatable and likable and trustworthy, people want to work with you. Because a lot of us aren't.
For sure. And look, on that note, it's been recommended a bunch of times, and it's a classic for a reason. You can just go get How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Yeah.
And like, if you suck at talking to people and like finding out like how to hold a conversation, that book will change your life. I should probably reread it because I'm still not great at it. Like,
No, I think we all.
Well, what I want to say is like, I think people get the wrong impression of me because I'm out here like doing the podcast, and I'll go to Tice and I get on stage and I speak, but this is one side of me, and I can do it. But if you take me to a party and you put me in that room and there's 100 people in there that I don't know, I will stand in the corner and I will talk to no one. I absolutely suck at small chat and like starting up conversations. But if you tell me that I can stand on a stage and I'm the expert, man, like, you can turn me on and I will go light up the stage and do my thing. But I just like meeting people, like, I can't do it. And it's something that I need to work on and really get better at. And so,
well, it's hard in a room full of 100 people. Where do you start?
You take a bite, right? Here's this person
exactly.
next to me. Hey, who are you? What do you do? How do you do? Like, I know the questions to ask, right? And it's all about letting people talk about themselves, right? Like, we all want to talk about ourselves. It's not hard. I just like, I'm so in my head about it. And I think this is where most of us are at, right? You're so in your head that you're going to come off as stupid or sound dumb that you don't want to do it. And they're probably thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, I don't care that we're long. This is kind of normal at this point for this show. But is there anything we didn't hit on, Dirk, that we should talk about scheduling wise for like a couple more minutes? Or do you think we
I think we've done pretty good, bud. I think that we've covered just about everything that we can. I think from from my own standpoint, knowing that, moving forward, I can't trust that the jobs that are on the calendar are going to be there.
Yeah.
And I have to have a different way of thinking about it. And once again, I can't stop that reaching out to new potential customers and, clients, builders, homeowners, circling back to homeowners from the past. We're doing one of the things we're doing this year too is normally we do a Christmas card every year. We do a photo of the staff, and usually it would go out to our normal builders, and it would go out to our our vendors and our trade partners of all. But this year it's going out to everybody. We're going through past clients, even if it was a client for a builder, if we had some interaction with them, it's going to them. Anybody we've worked for in the past, like, all the years records we have, is going to everybody.
That's what I was doing, is I was sending out Christmas cards every year to every client. And so it was like, 25 the first year, and then 75 the second year, or 150 the third year.
Yeah.
But I would go back, like, people would call me or like, I actually had a couple clients start putting me on their Christmas card list.
There you go.
After like the first couple of years, because they knew like, oh, we're going to get a card from Kyle. Like, we want to send him a card, right? Or they would call and be like, thank you. Like, your card is so nice. Like, your kids are getting big. And it's such a simple thing. If you have a team, it's a really good excuse. It's still a business write-off. It's a good excuse to just get a new updated company picture. But for me, like, it was my family. And so it was a great excuse to get family portraits as a business write-off. And my wife needed the pictures to send out for the family Christmas cards. So what's it matter if I print up some other ones and I send them out for the company? Like, it's a no-brainer, folks. It's super easy. And it makes a difference. Again, it's about people. They want to feel connected. You'll get calls. It's so the little things that just seem like, oh, that's really dumb, will move the needle for your business. Yeah, so I love that idea.
The same thing. The last few years, we've done a group portrait of the staff. We started like doing once a month breakfast. So rather than we wanted to get the staff together for like a staff lunch or a barbecue or something. But we always found that since everybody's scattered all over town, for them to come into the shop at 2 o'clock or for a late lunch or a
Hmm.
thing. It was more of a pain for people. But a breakfast is great because everybody has to come to the shop anyway in the morning and then distribute back out into the world, and then go home. And um, we've loved doing it. It has been the best thing we've ever done because it just brings everybody together at
Yeah.
time. There's no stress over it. You don't have to finish something to hurry up and get back to the shop for something. So it's great. And so we've been doing, around, early November, we'll do one, and we did one and do our staff photo. And it's the same thing with your kids, it's, everybody gets to see the employees, know that we're a happy group of
Hmm.
people, and I think it sends a really neat message.
Yes, for sure. I think the big takeaways here, like Dirk said, right, is he's learned he has to let go of his schedule, just like you have to let go if you want to grow your business and trust your employees. And I understand it's really hard to let go of control, but no matter how much we want to control our schedule, we don't. Things happen. I was in the works of getting a project, and I followed up to let them know that the material was no longer back ordered and they could get some. And the wife emailed me back from the husband's email, and she was like, we're gonna have to delay this project. He got hit on his motorcycle, and we've been in the ICU since this date, and it had been like 2 weeks. Like, it floored me, right? It's horrible news, and you don't want it. And so, no, there wasn't a contract signed, but they were done set on using me. But shit happens, folks. Like, you don't know
Yeah,
what's gonna come up, or especially with this economy, like Dirk was talking about, people are canceling big projects, so you don't have control. So you better be looking for more than enough at this point, and you can solve it later. If it came down to
yeah,
it, I bet you Dirk has a couple of contractors in his back pocket that he would actually trust to sub a project to, and he'll get it solved. It's not his
no
ideal
question
way
about it.
of doing it,
Yeah, yeah,
but he can do it. So
yeah.
keep that pipeline full, over full at this point, and I think that's going to be one of the best takeaways here is let go of control and overfill it.
Take what you can get. Don't say no.
I love it. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us this week. Remember, go in the group. Let's have this conversation. I want to see what you guys are doing with scheduling, how you're trying to figure it out, navigate it, keep it all organized, solve the problems you're being presented. Tag Dirk and I in it so we can join in. What else do we got? Make sure you go over to the website, flooracademypod.com. Check out the mastermind groups. Check out the shop. There's files for you to help you keep track of your equipment, learn what you need to charge for your business. We got a job costing spreadsheet. We got all kinds of great tools over there. You can help support the show at patreon.com/Floor Academy. Even $5 a month goes a long way in helping me to continue to produce the content. I love all of my Patreon supporters. And make sure you subscribe, leave a review. That would all be fantastic. And then we just got a quick word here from a couple sponsors. Listeners, it's nearing show season again, and I want to remind you that the International Surfaces event is returning to Las Vegas January 24th through January 26th. Mark your calendars now. Floor Academy podcast listeners have the opportunity to register for free using the code Kyle. That's right. Just type my name in, Kyle, can't forget it, and you will get a free exhibition pass. Whether you're an installer, retailer, distributor, or serve in another capacity within our industry, attending TICE is a solid resource to expand your knowledge and networking base. You can also learn about the newest and industry-leading products coming to market. Stay up to date with the International Surfaces Event page on Facebook or online at intlsurfaceevent.com. And look, when you put in my name and use that promo code, it's going to save you some money. You're going to get that exhibition pass for free. And then as you move through registration, it's going to start asking you if you want to sign up for this event or that event. There's a talk that I'm going to be giving, so go find the talk with my name on it. I don't know exactly what they're calling it at this point. In inverting your organizational chart, something like that. I'm talking about how we need to look at our organizational charts differently. and it'll change how you run your business. So go find that, and the money that you saved, you're going to go pay for that talk, and you're going to show up Tuesday morning, and we'll hang out Tuesday morning. We'll have a great chat. It'll be a great way to, it's free, right? That's like is this the girl math that they talk about on the internet these days, right? Like you saved money by not paying it, but then you went and spent it on something else, and so it's free, but it's not, because I don't get the math, because it's not free, but it is, because you were going to spend it anyways. But check out Services in January. It's always a great time. And lastly, you know the grind, the dust, the rain, the cold. We do too. We're IQ Power Tools, born from the sweat and grit of two masons who knew there had to be a better way. We're not just making tools, we're elevating the whole damn game. From our hands to yours, our story is your story. So let's cut the dust and not the ambition. Can't wait to meet you where it all happens, the job site. For more information on IQ Power Tools and their products, check out the link in the show notes. And I would appreciate it. Go into the show notes, folks. Click on all the sponsors' links. That's how you can help support the show. They like to see that you're getting over there from the links that they give me, and it goes a long way in helping me, keep some sponsors around here and keep the lights on so that we can continue to have these awesome conversations. So thank you again, Dirk, for joining me. I appreciate you, sharing in your struggles and kind of how you're tackling them. And I hope we get a great conversation going on in the group so that we can continue to flesh out some other ideas on what this looks like. And awesome. Don't forget to join us next week for a new episode.